I conduct I conducted an engagement survey, and one of the participants wrote that they called in sick from the parking lot. So imagine they got dressed, they did the commute, got to the office, but they could not muster the internal fortitude to make it through the door. Now imagine the days that they did make it through the door. How productive do you think they really were? My name is Tanya Devane, and I consult with clients on how to create an engaging environment and have happy employees. And today you're in luck because you're getting two for the price of one, and I'm going to let my co-presenter introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Bussey. I am the Key Relationship Manager, and very similar to Tanya with our consulting piece of it. And it always amazes me when we conduct our employee engagement surveys how honest and open the employees are about what they struggle with. And I love this quote by Doug Connaught. He was the former Campbell Soup CEO. We all know and recognize the brand of Campbell Soup. And he said, to win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. And if you look at our first poll that we were doing in the lobby, we asked that simple question: why do employees leave a company? So many times when I'm consulting with owners of companies, they say, oh, we have turnover because they need better pay, and it's all about the money. These people will go down the street for a quarter or 50 cents more. And what we're seeing from the participants, those of you that are here, is that's not the case. Yes, better pay got about 20% of the vote, but look at this, 60% is conflict with a manager. The other 20% is cultural fit. That blows my mind. That is close to 80% of the participants that are on this webinar are saying it has nothing to do with pay. It's all about that happy employee. So if you're wondering what the high cost of unhappy employees are, well, the first one is awful turnover. And what Tanya and I are going to talk to you about today is why they leave. We're going to give you some insight on what you can do. And I will tell you, we are going to be talking fast. So listen fast because we've got a lot of information for you. We'll have this presentation available on the download, and as well as if you want to go back and listen to it, because we're going to give you some amazing nuggets of knowledge that you're going to want to write down. It will be on our YouTube channel in about a week. So make sure that you are listening, that you are participating. We're going to have some interactive. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the question or comment box at any time. So why do they leave? And we know that about 80% of those on the webinar say it's because of either cultural fit or a conflict with managers. Well, there are some other aspects that tie into it. One is a lack of that work-life balance. You know, I love the example that Tanya shared when they were talking about, I got all the way to the parking lot, and then I called in sick. Well, think about it. Even though you may love your job or your employees may love their job, if there's not adequate balance between work and life, then it's something that could cause them to want to leave your company, even from a job that they absolutely love. You know, think about that. You get into work early in the winter months. You get in early, you work late. Sometimes you're like, was there even sunshine today? Especially if they have an office that's interior without a window or cubicles. They're not seeing their home life, their kids. They're not able to work. So if you're, as a company and as a leader, if you're not encouraging that work-life balance, something as simple as, I'm not going to send you emails at 2 a.m. in the morning, because as a leader, whenever I send this email, then the person receiving it automatically thinks, oh my gosh, I've got to answer it. My previous employer before coming to Omnia, that happened. Senior leadership prided themselves on, not sleeping. And so our phones that had our emails were constantly going off, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And in the position that I was at, I worked in a bank. I had to make sure that my phone was near me in case there was an emergency, such as someone driving into the bank, which happened to me one time at 2 a.m. I had to respond to that. So I was constantly hearing my phone go off with these email alerts. It caused me, and it was one of those contributing factors to leave the company because I felt like I could never stop working. And my first week at Omnia, I had my phone on, my email on my phone as well. And I had to look at my phone to say, is it broken? Because the work-life balance was, we're not sending you emails at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're not expecting you to move forward. So as I talk to you about some of these reasons about why people leave, what I want you to think about is this something I may be doing that's causing my employees to disengage? Whether you are the owner of the company, a department leader, the senior leadership, ask yourself, am I doing some of these factors that's causing them to leave? The other reason why employees disengage and leave a company is lack of growth. We always want to progress. I don't know of anyone who comes in and says, today, I'm just going to stay the same. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to do anything new. I just want to be here. Everyone wants to grow, whether it's learning something new, whether it's knowing what the next step of their career goal is. And that starts with conversation from the leaders to say, where do you want to go? Sometimes you may have someone who says, I'm very happy in my role as CSR. I don't want to go into leadership, but I would like to learn how to maybe train other people. So having that progression of a career path that's formalized, and then while you have that formalized structure to say, here's your education, here's your career growth, here are the opportunities that are available for you, add in that time frame. You're also going to want to make sure that you customize it. Career pathing is not one size fits all. You have some people who are naturally like go-getters in that they want to advance and they want to advance quickly. So telling them up front, our program lasts 6 months, 12 months. We want to train you. You may have the opportunity. Or even saying, we're a smaller company. And so there's not a lot of progression with titles. So we're not going to have 20 managers and 5 employees. But where your growth is going to come from is growing in knowledge. Because we are smaller, everyone has a voice in our innovation, things of that nature. And the other 2 reasons I want to talk about as well is lack of synergy and lack of assimilation. And this all boils down to those personality types, right? They say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. That saying is the same as you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your coworkers. And raise your hand. And at the top of your screen, there's an icon of a person with their hand raised. Go ahead and raise your hand if you've ever worked with someone that you just didn't connect with them for some reason, somehow. Okay, I see hands flying up faster than I can complete this sentence, right? Everybody has experienced that. And it's not that, they're good people or bad people, or you're a good person or a bad person. There's just that lack of synergy. For some reason, there's a disconnect. Maybe it's in the way you communicate. Maybe it's in the way that you process information. But when they're your colleague, your manager, or even worse, your direct report, we have to, as leaders, work through that to say, okay, why is this employee disengaged? Why are they unhappy? Is it because they feel like they're left out in the cold? Like everybody else is going to lunch together and, oh, you get to man the phones, thanks, each and every time. It can also be affected as well with assimilation. And what I mean is that a lot of times you may have someone who comes in who's a new employee or new to the team, and they're coming into a well-established team. Now they're feeling a stress of, oh, there's these inside jokes and they have these abbreviations. How do we work through it? How do we understand that information? Let's talk through it. I was very lucky when I came on to Omnia, even though the average tenure was about 10 to 15 years, everyone welcomed me with open arms. And they said, okay, you can ask questions and where are we going with this? And, Tanya was fabulous with giving me some of that inside track, such as don't ever call Cynthia Cindy. She doesn't like it. Right, Tanya?
So that is absolutely correct.
You even listening to me?
I was, but I had it on mute. I was muting myself just in case I had to cough while you were presenting. I didn't want to interrupt these nuggets that you're giving us.
So that's some of that as well. As you can tell, Tanya and I have a great synergy together. We're constantly going bantering back and forth. We're talking with each other, but that comes with time. So as a leader, you have to encourage that, whether it's through understanding the team dynamics, understanding creating team building workshops or development to make sure that everyone feels that synergy and assimilation. And at the end of the day, we are all professionals. So we have to find a way to look past that personal disconnect and find a way to work together. The fifth thing that we're going to talk about as why people leave is lack of recognition. And one of the most frustrating aspects of any job is that lack of recognition. Everybody wants to be told, thank you. Everyone wants to hear, you're doing a good job. How they want to hear it may differ. Some people want the parade through the office. Other people say, can you just send it to me in email? Don't make a big deal of it. But,
Kim,
yes.
can I say something? I just want to say you are doing a great job.
Thank you. See, Tanya knows I need to be recognized. I am, well, what am I? Am I the parade or the email, Tanya?
The parade, the band, the tubas, the cheerleaders, the pom-pom girls. She's everything.
That's right. If you've ever watched Saturday Night Live where they go, superstar, that is me in my own mind. Not that I don't make mistakes, but that's the recognition that I want. I want that superstar recognition. And then last but not least is that lack of compensation. So everybody has bills that they have to pay. You know, I may love my job and think it's the most fabulous job that I've ever had, but if I'm struggling at the end of every week or at the end of every month to put food on the table for my family and to pay my bills, or as I read recently, I have too much month for my money, then that's going to cause stress on your employees. And that stress is going to cause them to either A, be open when a recruiter calls them and says, hey, Tanya, you're doing a fabulous job. I've heard great things about you. Can we talk about this position? Or start actively looking. So what you want to do is make sure that, one, when we're done today, is spend some time in reflection to say, am I creating a culture that lacks balance, growth, synergy, assimilation, recognition, and compensation, either all of them or none of them? If you see that area where you are lacking a process or a tool, that should be your next step to say, okay, what can I do to improve on this? Where are we going to go? Because employees leaving are a fact of life, but they cost a lot of money, don't they, Tanya?
They do cost a lot of money. And sometimes people think that, oh, I can just throw money at the problem, or what they want is more money. Not necessarily. Think about the job. Think about the job that you hated most in your life. So let's all have that reflective moment for a second. We can probably think of it real quickly. Now, let's say that it's the same job, same culture, same boss, and now let's say that they're going to pay you 5% more. Who would stay? I'll wait for the hands to be raised. What? No hands? Of course. Money, like Kim said, we all have monthly bills. So there, we do need to make money, but money is not necessarily going to make you stay. But when we're talking about the cost of unhappy employees, you will see money going down the drain because, one, you will see it with customer loss. Think about a time, every time you go to that store, every time you go, you call your insurance company, they are like, no, you have to contact a different person. Oh no, Jane left. Jane's no longer here. You have to contact John, and you don't feel a good flow. And so that's a problem. So you're going to lose customers because they're going to feel like, well, if you can't even keep your employees happy, how are you going to keep me happy? And then the next part is absenteeism. You remember that lady I spoke about calling in sick from the parking lot? 37%. So now you're going to have someone not come in, so everybody else has to pick up the slack. But guess what? I already have a job. I already have responsibilities that keep me busy for 40 hours. Now, because Jane didn't come in, now I'm going to have to crunch in 45 hours in my 40-hour work week. And that's going to hurt my quality because one, if I'm already doing so much, we're busy, I'm already working my 40 hours, now I have to pick up slack, I'm probably not going to be able to go back and double check and triple check to ensure that everything is right. And that's going to also go back to that customer loss. And now I'm also not going to feel happy because why does Jane still have a job? So my morale is going to be down because she gets to kind of make her own schedule and she still gets a paycheck when I get a paycheck, but I'm doing her work, so I don't understand why I'm not getting some of her paycheck. And so my morale is going to be low. And then performance. Now, if I'm not a happy employee, guess what? I'm not going to be a productive employee because my performance is not going to be that great because I'm going to feel if Jane can come in whenever she wants and do whatever she wants, then, why can't I do whatever I want? So now that's going to affect. And then we're going to talk about that attrition cost. So we all know about the 1.5 times of the departed employee's salary and benefits is going to cost you to try to bring somebody else on. And that just affects everything. So the cost of an unhappy employee is not just, the money that you see, that attrition part that everybody knows about. Does it cost this much to replace that employee? There is so much more that goes into that because you will have disengaged employees working for you. If you have a disengaged employee working for you, they're not going to be productive. Because imagine when that lady did make it through the doors, she was not very productive. You just know that because if you can call in sick from the parking lot, when you do kind of muster that energy to go through the door, you're not giving 110%. You're probably, on your phone looking to see where, looking up jobs on your phone because I can't be here anymore. So you want to think about the cost of an unhappy employee more than just that attrition piece. And you want to find out kind of what causes this. Oh, we talked about the cause, but what are some of the warning signs, that will help you identify, hey, I may have an employee that's going down a bad path. So let's kind of talk about the warning signs that you're going to see. The first one is decreased productivity, and we kind of talked about that. It's one of the most profound and damaging symptoms of an employee disengagement. And it kind of lets you know that it's on the decline. If you had this person that came in every day and they were knocking it out the park and they were doing great, amazing things, they were retaining customers, their sales were phenomenal, their customer service was phenomenal, and then all of a sudden you see that kind of on the decline, that should be a red flag immediately. It's a 911 ER emergency. Let's go talk to that employee because we don't want them to go so far down the path of disengagement that we can't pull them back in. And so the first sign is that decreased productivity. If you see that, it's time to, go ahead and have a conversation with the employee. The next part is social withdrawal. Oh, we have happy hours and everybody is great. Let's all go out to, Billy Bob's and let's go get a drink or whatever. Or let's go, meet at the park and have a barbecue, a picnic, or go to the beach. That's right, I'm in Florida, so beaches are our life. We love beaches, but let's go hang out there. If you start seeing an employee that's no longer doing that, or maybe during your meetings, this was the person that was like your celebration captain, and all of a sudden they don't really want to be the celebration captain, or they, you kind of see them withdrawing. That is a sign of disengagement. The next one is negativity. We all have negative Nellies, and some people, it seems like they just wake up negative. They're just always negative. If you say, we're going to have an ice cream social, they're going to be, I'm lactose intolerant. They could have just put that money on my check. I don't know why they're giving, who cares about the sprinkles or the jimmies? They're just going to be negative about everything. But this is really in regards to someone that wasn't that way, but now you see it. If they came in the door with a negative attitude, one, I guess you didn't use the Omnia because why are you hiring this person? But two, If they came in the door negative, that's one thing. But if you see a person where their attitude starts becoming negative, like all the new great things that are happening within the organization, they don't seem like they're on board with and they have a negative comment about, let's talk about, that's another one that you want to go to and let's have a conversation about that. The last warning sign is the lack of initiative. What Kim was talking about earlier, that everybody wants to move forward, even if it's not necessarily a title change. Everybody wants a challenge. They want to feel like they're growing professionally in their role. And so if you start seeing someone that doesn't have that initiative, that doesn't seem like they want to go to the big conferences that, for the industry that you're in, or, you have the opportunity for educational training and they're not taking you up on it. I remember I had one client who offered their employees $2,000 a year in free educational credit. So they could pick whatever they wanted to do, just as long as it was a professional development type of session or class. And he had several employees that never ever, like they were there for a few years and they never took advantage of that. And that just kind of blew my mind. Like, what? They're giving you $2,000 and you're not using it? So that's the conversation. So what I did was I talked to him about, maybe you want to talk to those two people or those three people and ask them exactly what's going on, why, what's happening here. And that can kind of help you get those warning signs or kind of stop it from going down a bad path, because you can get so far gone, they can get so far gone down that disengagement that they will go ahead and take the offer, like Kim was talking about, when a headhunter introduces themselves, or our friend says, hey, I know about this position that's open. They're going to go down that path. And if they were a great employee because they hired, you hired them, so obviously you thought there was some great potential in them, we want to keep that going. And I know, Kim, I know you have a story about the warning signs of engagement.
Oh, I have got a ton of stories, but the one that steps out in my mind most is when I was consulting with a client about leadership development. And they had this stellar employee who was amazing at their role, and they promoted him to manager. And it was the manager of an accounting department. And even though they had the hard skills, they had the education, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they had displayed those leadership skills before being promoted. Guess what, Tanya? They got promoted, and their performance went downhill. There was a lack of communication. This new accounting manager went to their manager and said, I'm going on vacation. I'm taking 2 weeks off because I'm getting married. And they're like, oh, that's great. She goes, so I'm gone. And they're like, okay, well, who's going to take care of some of these critical things that only you could do, such as invoicing clients? No one wants to say, we're not going to get paid for 2 weeks. It's like, I don't know. Okay, well, can you find someone on the team that you can delegate this to? Yeah, I guess. This was 6 months before she was getting married and taking her honeymoon. 3 months. Hey, have you found someone? Let me check in with you. Have you found someone? When do we need to have IT give them special, login information? What do we need? No, I haven't really worked on it yet. I'll think about it. Okay, so now it's 2 months in advance. What's the game plan? I'll get it together. Well, of course, in that work, going back to work-life balance. So this was a temporary stressor, possibly, of being overwhelmed with planning a wedding. But at the end of the day, it was a week before this person was supposed to leave. And she's like, oh, well, Bob can do it. She leaves. Bob has no clue what he's doing. Did he muddle through it for 2 weeks? Yes. Was he feeling very, very frustrated? Absolutely. He was negative. He had decreased productivity, and it was all because this new employee just didn't have lack of initiative. Now, when we were talking to her and doing some of that one-to-one employee coaching, we found out that, guess what? She had been promoted and didn't want to be promoted. She didn't like to talk with people. So she didn't want to manage people and have to hold them accountable. And so it goes back to one, are you making sure you've got the right person in the right position to make sure that they're engaged? And then with that follow through. So that lack of initiative could be a sign that they're feeling overwhelmed because it's in a new position, or that they hate the position that they are in. And if that happens, you have to be willing to make some adjustments with it. Because satisfied isn't always engaged. So let's take a quick poll. Go ahead. Now, this is like Vegas. What's said here stays here. Select. Are you satisfied with your job? Yes or no? And then down below, would you recommend your employer to others looking for a job? Yes, because I love my job. No, I don't even want to be here most days. Or maybe, depends on the day. Well, we see that 87% of you, almost 88%, are satisfied with your job. But we're seeing some differences when it comes to recommendations. Yes, close to 62% of you would say, yes, I love my job. But 11% are, no, I don't even want to be here. And then 29% are, maybe. It just really depends on the day that I'm having. So when we look at this and when we recognize this, we see that satisfied is not engaged. You can have a satisfied employee. In so many companies, they'll have their, talk about employee satisfaction. They'll do surveys. Executives talk about, we want everyone to be happy and engaged. And look, we do. We have people that show up on time. They work their hours 9 to 5. If we ask them to, they'll stay later. They'll work, but the leadership is setting that engagement, that happiness meter, so to speak, too low. Because just because someone shows up and they do a job and they're like, yeah, I'm good with it, doesn't mean that they're engaged. And it doesn't mean that they're happy with their job. And we can see that through this survey. We can see that, yes, 88% are satisfied, but close to, 32% are not going to recommend. And you want those happy, engaged employees. They're going to be your brand ambassadors. They're going to be the ones that say, yes, we want you to work here. Yes, we don't. So as you can see, there is a difference between satisfaction and engagement. And your satisfied employees are really your employees that have that greatest potential to leave your company, and you're not even going to recognize it. Because while they're not actively seeking, they're willing to listen. They're what recruiters consider passive candidates, where if we reach out to them and we talk with them and the job culture is better or the pay is better or we hit them on the right day, they're going to leave your company. So how do we know the difference? Well, for me, I think satisfaction equals comfort. Am I comfortable in my job? I understand what I need to do. I can do it with my hands tied behind my back, but that's different between truly being engaged. Engagement is excitement. And Tanya, what are some of the things that you get excited about?
I get excited about ice cream socials. That's what keeps me engaged. Now, I get excited about having a challenge, being able to travel, being able to do these webinars, being able to consult with our clients, go one-on-one, doing client visits and conducting trainings and things like that. That's what excites me. That's what keeps me engaged. So when we're talking about employee engagement, if you read that piece right there where it says the emotional commitment, that's really what you want from your employees. You want to have that emotional commitment. It is so important to have that emotional piece. To me, those two words are the most important in that whole statement when we're talking about what engagement is. Because when you have an engaged employee, they're going to use their discretionary efforts. And so that means that computer programmer, your IT guy, he's going to work overtime. He's going to work when needed without being asked. Your CSR is going to go that extra mile. They're going to pick the phone up at 5:29 when they know they close at 5:30 because they want to make sure that they are moving towards the organization's goals. And one of the goals is to make sure that all of our customers are satisfied. Or you're going to have that TSA agent go ahead and check that last bag, even though it's the last bag before they end their shift. Now, I know it's probably going to be my bag because I'm always seem to be the lucky one. That's why I'm getting ready to get TSA pre-check. But you want that. I mean, we want the TSAs to check the bags. We want our CSRs to pick up the phone at, 5:29. We want our IT people to handle technical issues that may happen overnight. So when we come in on Tuesday, our whole system hasn't crashed, because I have experienced that. And because we're so electronically driven these days, if the computer goes down, then guess what? Business is shut down. Like, I don't even know how businesses worked without computers. What is this pen and paper that you want me to do? I don't even understand what that means. And so when you don't have that emotional commitment, what you have is an employee that's just going to be satisfied. They're just going to do the status quo. They're not going to go the extra mile. And raise your hand if you don't want your employees to go the extra mile. Raise your hand if you're happy just if your employees do the bare minimum. Okay, I'll wait. What? No hands? So you're saying that you do want to have employees do more? Really? Oh, that's why you're on this webinar. Exactly. And the way you get your employees to do more is by employee engagement. And it's not always about, spending money. I know I keep talking about this ice cream social. I think I'm having an ice cream, withdrawal right now. But it's not always about spending money. You don't have to spend money to have employee engagement. You can send them a personal thank you note. You can give them some educational classes that some of them are free. Like Lindy.com is a free, where they can take classes online, just learn about new things online, and it's free. So think about ways that you don't have to spend money. Maybe they can get, the employee of the month parking spot, or casual day on Fridays, or something like that. Not everything is about money, but when we're talking about that employee engagement, the way to have that productive, engaged employee is to really get to their emotional piece. And the leader can help ignite that emotional commitment. The leader can be the flint that, starts the fire, and the leader also keeps adding wood to keep that fire going. So if you think of your employees as the fire, your role as leadership to keep that fire going. So you're the one that's adding the logs to the fire to make it a roaring fire. Everybody, because you can't roast marshmallows, you can't have s'mores unless you have a roaring fire. I know I'm talking about sweets a lot. I guess it's close to lunchtime for me. But you want to be that leader that does that. You want to be the leader that gets everybody going. And the first thing you want to do is build trust. You have to, build trust. You don't demand trust, you earn trust. And a leader, you have to know that it happens slowly. But guess what? You will lose it very quickly. And Kim is going to, and we're going to talk more about how to build that trust in a minute. But let me talk about the other pieces of the leadership role. Next is lead by example. Do as I say and not as I do. Is very demotivating. Nobody wants that. Leading by example is important on many levels. If the leader wants their employee to be engaged, then they have to see an engaged employee. I mean, I know I have worked for a manager that it looks like she didn't want to be at the job. So how is it going to make me feel if if you're already planning your exit strategy? What am I supposed to do? Give you 120%? Okay, if you're leaving, then maybe I should leave too, because you're higher up than I am, so you must know something. So guess what? I'm posting my resume up too. So you want to lead by example. Next, be transparent. You want to be open and honest, and not be the person that's holding things. Now, I know in leadership, I'm not saying that, we can just fly open the front door and let everything fly, because some things in leadership does have to stay private until we have all the pieces in place. But guess what? Your people are talking at the water cooler. So if you know they're talking at the water cooler, go ahead and address it. Say, I know, we had some changes that are happening. We are trying to get everything in place before we roll out the next phase of the project. Let people know. Because if you try to say, oh, no, nothing's going on, downsizing, what are you talking about, this downsizing? No, we are doing excellent. Then the next day we start seeing boxes and pink slips going out. You're not being transparent, you're not building trust. And then you want to empower your team. Managers can allow their team members to reach their full potential by empowering them and taking a step back, letting them lead for a while. Letting them take the lead will be very beneficial. So we're going to really break down these different roles of leadership and tell you exactly the benefit and how to do it. And Kim is going to start us off by telling us about building trust.
Okay, so raise your hand if you've ever had a leader break your trust. Maybe they told you one thing, did something completely different. Maybe they promised you a raise or even I have an open door, come see me. Okay, so for those of you that are leaders, raise your hand if you have ever broken the trust. So you've had trust broken to you if you were, by a leader, but as a leader, have you ever broken the trust with one of your employees? Raise your hand. And I will tell you, you can't see me right here, but I'm going to be very transparent in that I have, as a new leader, broken my employees' trust. And it was very unintentional. But, trust is one of those things that once broken, you have to work harder to bring it back. One of the ways of doing it is being very honest and supportive, talking with people and saying, you know what? I made a mistake. I told you this. I thought I could follow through with it. I told you I would get you that raise. I wasn't able to do it. But I want to be open and honest with you and say that, the hardest thing to say is I made a mistake. But it is the best thing a leader can say when building trust. I was wrong about this, or you have a better idea. So being honest, being supportive of those ideas as well. Don't steal your employees' ideas, and you would think I wouldn't have to say that, but there's a lot of leaders who will. Like, tell me what you've got, now give them to me, and now I'm going to present them as my own ideas, and you're sitting in a meeting, and now your employee's staring at you with big eyes and her mouth wide open going,
yeah, that was a good idea. I love that idea because it was my idea.
And then follow through with what you're saying. If you promise something, then you need to deliver it. If you're not sure you can deliver it, don't promise it. But if you say, I'm going to meet with you weekly so that we can prepare you for the next stage of your career pathing, meet with them weekly. If it's something that you say, I'm going to try my best, or I know that this is difficult, let me see if we can get you some additional training, or I understand what you're saying about our technology. Let me, look at it and see what we can do. Even if you come back and say, at this time, we can't do it, but it's on the list. We know we want this upgrade. We can't do it right now, but it's on the list. You follow through with it. And then be open. Now, as leaders, sometimes we're thinking, yes, this new policy stinks, or yes, I hate our new system. It is awful. We can't always say that because we have to put on that positive. We're not going to fall into that negativity. We're going to keep everyone motivated, engaged. But it's okay to be open about struggles that you've had because I've been where you are. I struggled with the same thing. I didn't like to talk with people about confrontation. Here are some things that I put into place to help me move past it. Because when we're open about those difficulties, when we're open about opportunities or, different situations, we're able to move forward with it. We're able to say, okay, I'm good with that. You also have to be open to feedback. And feedback, when you're a leader, a lot of times you feel like your feedback from your employees is more criticism. And so I don't want to hear the criticism, so I'm going to avoid it by just saying, this is the way it is, deal with it. And Tanya, did you ever deal with a story where your leader broke trust or they said one thing and did something else?
Of course. And talking about being open, okay, I had a boss that we said that they had an open door policy. So the door, and yes, literally, physically, the door was open, but we knew what days was an open policy days and what days were not open policy days by the way she said good morning. If you got the full good morning, Tanya, well, guess what? That was an open policy day. If you got the head nod, That was not an open door policy day. Even though she kept her door open 24/7, it wasn't always open, really. So you want to make sure when you're building that trust, if you have an open door policy, if you're open for, if you're trying to open yourself up for feedback, you can't hop on the defense. You have to stay on the offense because people are trying to assist you. And so you want to make sure that your people are feeling heard, because that's another thing that will kill trust if they don't feel like you're hearing what they're trying to tell you, and just think about it this way, that they're coming from a good place. Even though you may think they're not, always have the overall umbrella. They're coming from a good place. Let me try to get the silver lining out of this, because I am the leader of this team, so I can't come out here with an attitude. I have to check my attitude at the door and walk in, because people are going to feed off of your energy. And talking about people feeding off of your energy, that takes us into the next leadership role, and that is lead by example. First off, you want to get your hands dirty. You want to get in the trenches, do the work, and know your trade. You don't have to be the most advanced technician on your team. You don't have to be that person, but you must have an in-depth understanding of your industry and your business. And when you're a new manager, sometimes that may be hard if you were brought in and didn't come up through the ranks. And so the way, when that happened to me, what I did was I kind of worked side by side my people for a while. I, took them in one by one, saying, what are the hardest parts of your job? What is the easiest part of your job? I wanted to know the business. I wanted to know what they go through. And one way to do that is just get in the trenches, get your hands dirty, get down there with them. I mean, so when they do have a complaint, you will understand it from their side, because you've had a call, from a client, and they said that the salesperson said XYZ, and you're like, I've never heard of that program. I've never seen that. So you want to make sure that you're getting in the trenches with your people. Also, action speaks louder than words all day, every day. So you have to mean what you say what you mean, do what you say you're going to do, because that's going to show your people that, yes, I am who I am, and I am who I told you I was, and I'm doing what I said I would do. The next part is take responsibility. Kim kind of touched on this. Do not place the blame. Do not say, oh, no, that wasn't me, that was the system. Take ownership of it. They're going to respect you a lot more if you go ahead and say, yep, that's my bad. That's me. I'm sorry. I should have prepared you all. I should have communicated better. Take the responsibility, and that's going to help your people in regards to feeling and respecting you, and really getting behind you. And one thing, when we're talking about getting behind the person, it's also about being that transparent type of individual. And the way you're transparent is, one, ask questions, because guess what? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You don't know everything, and that is perfectly fine. What you want to do is ask questions, because your people want to feel like they can share things, or teach you things as well. They want to know that you consider their thoughts, their education, their background so much that you're coming to them and asking them questions. So you want to feel that. Also, confront situations. Kim kind of talked about that as well, in regards to, don't put your head in the sand. There's conflicts are going to arise. Conflicts are opportunities to learn things, to grow. So you want to confront the situation and not try to say, oh, there's nothing going on. There's no stress. Our team is running pleasantly. It is perfect. It's great. It's awesome. And everybody in the team is, with their eyes rolling like, no, it's not. We have so many issues. So you want to go ahead and confront the information up front. And that's going to show them that you're transparent, that you're not trying to hide behind a false sense of greatness. And then provide access. The benefit of making information available far outweighs the risk. I know sometimes in leadership we kind of, get in our ivory towers, and, well, we don't want to tell them too much because we don't want them to get upset or what have you, but provide them as a lot of information, or as much information as you possibly can. Because once again, what you're doing there is you're building a comfort level with your people. Your people will then know, okay, you know what, I can really trust this person. They're being open and honest, transparent, and then they're going to be transparent with you. They're not going to hide things from you. And you don't want your people hiding things from you, and that you find out on the back end. Another huge benefit of making information available is that it results in higher accountability while being fair. More information early also allows for early realignment and correction. Let's not go down this whole new path of a project that the people on the leadership team created, and we realize a year, well, actually, you probably realize it 3 months down the road that we spent all this money and this is not what the people want. This is not what our clients are looking for. So you want to, if you provide access and information and get people in that's actually doing the work, it's going to be better for your company, for the project, and for the progress of your organization, because the people that are in the trenches know better than anyone else what the people want. So you want to make sure that you're providing them that access. So there are many reasons why leaders will separate themselves from their team members. Maybe you're afraid you'll be seen as less authoritative, or maybe you're scared of criticism. Maybe you're an introvert or simply just don't have the time, basically in your day. Whatever the reason, one of the key building blocks of a functional and successful team and organization is the level of transparency. And being a transparent leader is essential. And Kim's going to talk about the empowerment and when you empower your people.
Absolutely. And empowerment means different things to different people. And so many times as leaders, we try to say, oh, well, I empower my people, but I haven't taught to them. You haven't told them what that empowerment means. And a lot of that is encouraging safe failure. So I was recently reading an article, and it was written by a new leader, and he said, it was my first management job, and I was so focused on doing the right thing and doing, making sure that there were no mistakes because it reflected at me, and I was a new leader, that I completely destroyed my team. They started within 2 months complaining to my supervisor, talking to my supervisor. Productivity went down. All the classic symptoms that we've talked about unhappy employees. And his supervisor called him into his office and said, Alan, I want you to start making 5 mistakes a week. I don't care about what 5 mistakes they are, but 5 mistakes a week, and let's talk about it. And at first, the author was like, I can't make a mistake. But then when he started realizing, okay, I'm going to make 5 mistakes, it took the pressure off of him to say, my manager, my leader doesn't expect me to be perfect. He expects mistakes. And when he took the pressure off of himself, guess what it did to the team? It took the pressure off of them as well. Mistakes are where we learn, where we grow from. And so as a leader, you've got to encourage that safe failure. When I was a branch manager at a bank, I always said there's not a mistake we can't correct unless you give too much money away. If it's out of the building, we're probably not going to get it back. But just giving my employees that moment to say, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm not going to beat you up about it. You're not immediately going to be fired about it. In fact, I know you're trying and taking initiative when you fail. But you can't just encourage safe failure without requiring accountability. And accountability so much is like the person who stands up and says, you know what, that's on me. I take full responsibility. I won't make this mistake again. But there's so much more to it than that, than taking that bullet. You've got to have commitment to the job and to growth. You've got to have resilience because we are going to make mistakes. We just can't let it define us. What are we going to learn from it? How are we going to grow? Take ownership of saying, okay, I see the problem. Let's look at that ownership. Let's see what we can do to improve this process or procedure, and then use that accountability as a continuous growth and learning opportunity. What did we learn from this? Where are we going to go? One of the best ways that you can do this is say something simply as, so tell me what your thought process is. So yes, I agree with that thought process. We're on the same path. Here's where, we need to tweak it a little bit, because now we're letting our employees know, we want you to think, we want you to take initiative. Tell me what you were thinking when you took this step. And now I can use it as a coaching moment to empower you to make those mistakes, to empower you to take ownership the next time. And I'm teaching you the policies and procedures and my thought processes. So I'm also giving you that professional growth. If I move forward, who's going to take my place? So we know how to empower them. We talked about that engagement and what are some of the signs that we see. But maybe you're thinking, okay, oh my gosh, Kim and Tanya, I I've got some glaring areas of difficulties. What can I do to improve this engagement? So, Tanya, share some of those practical tools that we have.
The first thing is hire right the first time. That is the easiest, quickest way to improve your engagement is get it in on the front side. When you're interviewing, making sure that the person is in the right seat, in the right bus, going in the right direction. Next is we're talking about developing your people. Investing in the development of an employee is the most important and rewarding thing a manager can do. But for some reason, a lot of managers, they don't think about that development piece. I know we tell people at the Omnia Group, if you're looking at us just for the hiring and not for the developing, you're missing 50% of your investment. Next is motivate your people. You want to keep people engaged and motivated. And then survey your people. I talked about how we conducted surveys and about that lady that didn't want to, that called in sick from the parking lot. So surveying your people is going to be very beneficial as well. So let's break down that hire right the first time. One, you want to know their natural tendencies, and you want to know the behaviors that are needed for the job. That's how you're going to hire right the first time. Next, you're going to attract the right candidates by having an engaging, interesting job advertisement. You want to get the people in on that side. So in your job advertisement or in your job ad, talk about your culture. Talk about, the great things that you're doing for the community. Also, you want to assess the candidates. That's what we do. We talk about that omnia and, talking about their level of assertiveness, their communication style, their pace, and how much attention to detail that they have. And then also thinking about how much attention to detail does the position need. Then you want to interview your candidates and you want to do that behavioral interview. You want to know the why behind the what. You want to make sure that you're asking about past experiences and how they handled those situations because that's going to tell you about future performance. And then lastly, scorecard your candidate because we all know that, after we've interviewed 4 people, sometimes it can start turning into mush. So you want to have a scorecard and we offer that in regard to, how did each candidate match up and comparing them apples to apples and not just how you felt like, oh, I felt like I just got a good feeling about them, but really you want to back up what that feeling truly is. Then after you've brought them on, the way you keep them engaged is by developing your people. So you want to ensure that one, you know yourself. As we talked about the leader's role, you have to understand who you are. What are your strengths and challenges as a leader? Then next, offer stretch projects. So when you're talking about that development piece, when you're talking about, developing your individuals, and we use this professional development report a lot. I know I talk to our clients a lot about this professional development that they've used on their clients on their employees in regards to how to take them to the next level. What are they looking for? They may be your customer service, but put them lead on the next customer service meeting. Let them come up with the agenda. Let them come up with the talking points. And that's going to help them grow and develop. Also, giving them learning opportunities. Try to find different associations, conferences. I know Kim and I go to a lot of conferences throughout the year, and they have so many educational programs, and all of the attendees walk away feeling better because they feel like they learned something. And that's going to help them and that's going to help them feel engaged. And then the next part is we're going to talk about motivating people. And Kim is going to give us some more in-depth information how to keep them motivated.
Absolutely. So when we talk about motivation, it's more than that pat on the back. Hey, everybody, how are you doing? What's going on? It's having that meaningful conversation. Yes, we want to build that rapport. We want to talk with them. But we also want to ask them, what are some of your challenges? What are some of your strengths? What are you struggling with? How can we help you with that? We want to give them opportunities to lead if they want to. And it's not necessarily people. It could be leading projects. So one of the things that we're doing at Omnia is we're looking at various policies and procedures for this year. And we have taken people within our team who have those experts, but we're taking them cross-functionality. So we may have someone from IT, accounting, sales, and service to really look at this procedure and these processes from all aspects within the company to make improvements. So the opportunity may be leading a project with leading people. It could be, just giving input into some ideas. And then offer incentives. Incentives are critical, but you want to make sure they are the right incentives. So, you don't always want to say, we're going to have cake on every Friday when you have a team of people who are on diets. Guess what? That's a demotivator. You're tempting them to break their diet. So, offer incentives of things that you want to do. It may be, maybe you are offering the ice cream social or, an extra paid day off or summer schedules where people can work 36 hours and get paid for 40. So they get an extra half day here and there. Tickets to the movies. Show up with bagels. Or one of the things that we enjoy here at Omnia is that we'll do some celebrations where, especially at Christmas time, we have a Christmas luncheon. Instead of bringing gifts for each other, we bring gifts that are donated to a local charity. So for the past 2 years, we've done tennis shoes. So it gives us this idea for the incentive part of it is that we're giving back to the community, but we're also sharing some delicious food each and every on that Monday. We all make extra so we can kind of nosh on it for the rest of the week. But for me, the incentive is I like to get together and eat with everyone, but I love the fact that we're coming together as a company and giving back to the community. Wouldn't you agree with that, Tanya?
Most definitely, I sure would, because I like cake and I like food. So those are my two things that I love, and I love the people that I work with. So the trifecta.
Yes. So if you do not know what motivates your people, what helps them, start off with giving them a survey. And that is definitely a consulting service that Omnia offers. What you want to do is you want to make sure that it's detailed enough to be useful, but it does not lead them in any sort of bias. So if you're asking about work-life balance, you don't want to offer something that's not on the table. Or if you want to know, you think you know what your employees want. So you may put 5 questions out of 12 that talk about increase of pay. Well, you can't give everyone across the board an increase of pay. By leading them in that perception, when that doesn't happen, it could cause some disengagement. It could cause some unhappiness. So you want to make sure that your surveys are detailed, that they're anonymous. You tell your staff in advance and encourage people to take the survey. Encourage is the word on here because, recently when we conducted a survey, we were having a conversation with the owner of the company and we said, this particular region had 100% participation. And he goes, I'm not surprised that regional manager rules his region with an iron fist and probably sat everybody down to take the survey. So for us, we're thinking, oh, great involvement. And the leader who knew was like, no, that's not a good thing. So you want to encourage them. You want to be able to get that information, and then you want to share the results. And then last but not least, act on the results. If we're not acting on the results, if you just give a survey, then what you've done is you've told your team, your words don't matter. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. We're still going to do whatever we want to do. And then when you go to take another survey of the pulse of your people, you're not going to get honest answers. You're going to have a very low participation rate, and it's going to do more harm than good. So make sure that the survey is detailed, that you're using it, and that you communicate what those results are. Because here's what you've got to remember as we prepare to close this webinar is that as leaders, what you can do to prevent unhappy employees is 1, set them up for success. You want to provide them with the means that is necessary. You also want to remember that it's not a sprint, but a marathon. So you've got to coach, train, reinforce. Just when you're about done, you're going to find, oh gosh, I'm tired of saying this. Guess what? You're going to have to say it again and again and again and again and again. And then what's the next point, Tanya?
Create a nurturing environment. So you want to create something that's collaboration, not competition. Even on your sales team, I know you want your salespeople to be competitive, but we should all be working towards a common goal. Lastly, you want to know your people, their strengths, their challenges, because when you know your people, you'll be able to assign projects more efficiently, and everyone will be happier because they'll be in a role that suits them and it works for them. And the way we do that is by offering many different reports that can assist you in regards to the sales styles, that development piece, the customer service development, the leadership development, professional development, as well as the hiring. So you want to ensure that you have this in your toolbox. Kim, give us some finer points.
So when you're looking at these, I think for me, the point that I have is that the leadership drives that happiness. And I'm not saying that you're responsible for it, but you drive it. So you've got to make sure that you're talking with your team, that you're helping them understand that we are committed for you. We do want to help you become better. One of the questions I'm always asked is, I think everyone's happy, but this one employee, what do I do? Give us a call, because it may be that that employee, having that conversation, working with them is going to help them, or that it was the wrong person in the wrong position. So once again, you've got to have that conversation to be able to talk through them, understand it. I know we're coming up on our time, so go ahead and type in any questions that you have. Definitely make sure that you download our takeaways of the engagement survey and our presentation. And then click on the did you like or hate this webinar? Let us know, because Tanya and I are always wanting to grow. We practice what we preach. So let us know that information. And Tanya, last words before we close?
We enjoy feedback. Also, click on try it for free. We talked about, adding this to your toolbox. So definitely try it for free and have that self-discovery, that self-awareness. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I want to thank my co-presenter, Kim Bussey. As always, Kim, you were awesome. Thank you so much.
You're amazing too, Tanya, and we are so happy to talk with you. I hope you have a great week, and don't forget to sign up for our webinar in July, using conflict to build an unstoppable team. Have a great day, everybody.